We left off on example 4. Do the one at the bottom. Get yourself situated. No daily quiz, no homework. We're jumping straight in.
For the deadline, classes begin on January 1st. Classes do begin on January 10th. You take the second semester to enroll. Keep in mind our semester, first semester, not in. Our semester January. That month, our semester ends on January 13th. Navy recruiter being a common over by Thursday. Friday, science technology being a common. Either of those two, rest of the Navy or
Yeah.
it's all please say.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a great day.
Just go through a few. It's every day. Thank you.
I'm right. I'm right.
I don't care anymore. I'm just, I care about people. That doesn't make sense.
Oh, I did it right. I just should be
I got 83. Even without 83. Fair work, everyone.
Do I have permission to teach?
Go for it. Do it.
Do it. Yeah.
Oh, never mind. Still do it. Well, we almost have them, boys.
No, I'm okay with you bringing in food tomorrow. Go for it, bud.
I'll do it. What if I get everything correct?
I will nod sagely and move on with my day.
All right. So first thing we do is we label these since we have this degree. So this is adjacent, this is opposite, and this is hypotenuse. So we have adjacent and opposite, so that means we're using tangent, which is Noah, so opposite over adjacent. Tangent of 48 equals x over 75. Cross multiply. X equals tangent of 48 times 75, which is about, someone help me here. 83.296. I believe that is no brownie points. Thank you for your time.
2 issues.
What? Are you kidding me?
He didn't label.
Number 1. Labels matter.
Feet.
It's a small thing, but it's a thing.
I caught it first, so
So I win. Okay.
that's brownie points.
Number 2, and this is a small thing. This is nitpicky. Like,
What's so bad about that? 75.
this isn't wrong, right? But just like when we said, is that square root of 3i or is that square root of 3i? right? Unless you're very, very particular with how you write it, which is why we usually did this. Okay? So it's not wrong. Like, y'all teenagers, you've used that phrase enough times. Well, you're not wrong. But it ain't completely right because of the potential misunderstandings it can lead to. So, yes, we do. The official way to write it is coefficient function angle. Like that. Okay? That's how we're supposed to write it, just so we don't accidentally take 48 times 75 and then the tangent of that, which is entirely possible. Because, as we're going to get into, I think, at the end of today, definitely tomorrow, we start talking about degree measures, what a radian is, start building the unit circle. You can take the tangent of anything. I can take the tangent of 932 degrees. It's a thing because those functions are periodic. They go forever. So it was a small thing. Like, I was not going to do that to you, but okay.
I will accept one. I also want an excuse to make pumpkin bars, so.
Okay, then do another one.
Those were so good.
Yeah, just do another one.
Speaking of, I think I saw Lindsay in her natural environment this morning. I walk into Safeway, I see her in line at a Starbucks, and as I pass by, I hear someone say, something, pumpkin spice? And I was like, we were talking about that in at lunch yesterday. I don't like coffee. I hate it with a burning passion, and people will get heated about that. And then I ask them, like, most of their defense is, well, what if you put this in it? What if you do that to it? What if you did it? And I say, listen to all of the crap that you have to put in there to make it palatable.
I drink it black. Black is
Everyone, I know.
I think it smells amazing. It tastes terrible.
I like the taste
So.
of black coffee.
All right, you good with this so far? If I have the angle, I can fill in things. I remember what SOHCAHTOA is. I know they're Alabama cousins now. Okay, the reciprocal functions. Okay. Then, where's thing? There's thing. This is parallel to the ground. The amount that I have to look down at Hannah, making her incredibly uncomfortable, is the exact same amount that she is looking up at me. Because me looking straight forward and her looking straight forward at my shins, that is parallel. Okay, what did you learn about parallel lines and a transversal cutting across them? Oh yeah, they got all kinds of stuff on there. Specifically, if I have a set of parallel lines and a transversal cutting across parallel lines, what are these called? No. Yes, they are congruent. That means their measures are equal. What are they called? Something about interior. On opposite sides of the transversal, alternate interior. Okay? Alternate interior angles. Since we know that alternate interior angles are congruent, and since anything parallel to the ground is parallel lines, that means An angle of elevation and an angle of depression are going to be equal. Now that's important. If it's... Okay, I'm scarred by high school. When a kid, like a girl, was looking at me and then whispering like that, don't traumatize me. If you just want to make popcorn, make popcorn. Okay? If... The directions are on the bag. The directions are on the bag. The popcorn button is specifically based on the wattage of the microwave and the ounce weight that you set it for. Yes.
Okay, I'll just put it in. I know.
Y'all, why are we having an argument about cooking popcorn? You throw it in there and you stand next to the microwave until it stops making too much noise.
I lit one on fire in my microwave. There's palms.
Listen to Lars. Lars is the popcorn pro.
Popcorn button plus 30.
So anyway, about math, you're going to get this assignment regardless of how far we get. Angle of elevation, like my blood pressure, and angle of depression, like after white 4, are very, very similar, and kids screw them up all the time. I know, they're terrible. Kids will screw up angle of depression non-stop. What I'll see is, say it's something blah, 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 building. Okay, stick figure Steve is down here, and stick figure Sally's up here, and it says an angle of depression stick figure Sally looks down at stick figure Steve with an angle of depression of 40 degrees. And I will see kids time after time after time put 40 degrees here. Why is that wrong? Angle of depression is how far she looks down. How far she looks down. Like that. So normally the way that these diagrams are, how many people are going to make popcorn? Normally in these diagrams, they draw the triangle this way. And then they say an angle of depression of 40 degrees, and they throw it right here. No, angle of depression is right here. Angle of elevation, the amount that you look up. So what I don't want you to have to do is have to jump through the mental hoop of 90 minus my angle. Instead, angle of depression is the angle of elevation. If they say an angle of depression of 40 degrees, then just put 40 at the angle of elevation. Because they're the same. Okay? Because this inside or outside the triangle thing, I have watched kids screw that up for 20 years. Just be careful with it. Make a note of it. Because they're the same, just put it at angle of elevation. It's easier. Okay, and that's what leads to our word problems. Well, I suppose the word problems will come next, but could you find, well, before we get to the angle of elevation and depression stuff, how do I find that angle? Okay, I got a ratio up there. From theta, what do I got? Got opposite and adjacent, which is tangent. So I know that the tangent of theta is 26 over 11. Side quest. Find that one. That is a 60. Side quest, find x. Solve for x. Paul. No. He was threatening to.
Wait a minute, why? So the H thing, right?
I'm pretty sure he wants to keep. Yeah. Oh, what the heck? Oh.
There's the answer. How do you get to it? Figure it out.
Oh.
30, 60, 90 special right triangle ratios.
I completely forgot about that.
Right now is 15 long leg, short leg, or hypotenuse. How do I know it's a long leg? Because it's the longest leg. I will tell you right now, my drawings are not to scale. They're going to be bad. Okay?
So, I got it.
15 is across from the 60. 60 is the middle angle. Okay? It is the larger of 60 and 30, so it must be the larger leg. So 15 is the long leg. To go from the long leg to the short leg, I
That question. Divide by square root of 3.
square root of 3, 1, 2.
Okay.
By those ratios. I was just doing ratios and scale factors yesterday with algebra half. If I have the long leg is 15 to the hypotenuse is x, and normally the 15, the long leg, is in the square root of 3 spot versus the x, the hypotenuse, is in the 2 spot, it's a ratio. In ratios, we Jesus fish. Multiply the two that line up, divide by the one that doesn't. 15 by 2 is 30. 30 divided by square root of 3. Rationalize times square root of 3 times square root of 3. I get 30 square root of 3 over 3 reduced. Or those little cheaters that we wrote down yesterday that says to go from here to here, I divide by square root of 3. To go from here to here, I times 2. We have that ratio in our calculator. If I were to say what angle has a sine of square root of 3 over 2, my calculator would tell me 60. Because that's one of my special angles. I know that. It also knows that for every other angle because they're all based off of a ratio. So if my calculator has all of these ratios stored in there to go with the angle, it should be able to work backwards and go from the angle to the ratio and the ratio to the angle. So I'm going to throw in something called a arc function or inverse function. And this notation has bothered me since 1999. And the reason it bothers me, and as soon as I point it out to you, it'll probably bother you too, is what does a -1 and an exponent mean? It usually means reciprocal. But this isn't reciprocal of tangent, that's cotangent. Do you remember the difference between f of x and that? Remember, as soon as I put the to the negative first on the name of the function, it means inverse. As opposed to if I put it on a numerical value or an expression, it means reciprocal. So they use it to mean two different things, and that's annoying. So this is called arc tangent. You may see it written as either one of these, arc tangent or inverse tangent. And the arc tangent of theta is just theta. Now I still set up my ratio correctly, but what I'm saying now is before, the tangent of theta was this ratio. So now the arc tangent of the ratio will get me theta. The way that I always remembered it was arc functions find angles. Arc functions find angles. Someone had that breakfast burrito, right? It's really simple. You say, what function do I have here, or what ratio do I have? If I have tangent, cool, do arctangent of thing. If I have sine, do arcsine of thing. Y'all know where the button is. Right above the regular sine, cosine, tangent, which is why I couldn't use sine to the negative first button to find a cosecant. Because cosecant is not the inverse of the function, it's the reciprocal of the value. And you start to get into semantics and arguing with yourself. So, nice and simple. Find out, do you have the sine, cosine, or tangent ratio? Use the arc function to get your answer. Your answer is going to be written as arc meh of number over number, and then you do approximately. Because the arc tangent of 26 over 11 was the full correct answer. The decimal approximation of it is what we're going to be working with. Warm, cold, warm, cold. I swear I'm a 37-year-old cishet dude and I'm going through menopause. Hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. Identify your opposite adjacent hypotenuse business from theta. Is it sine, cosine, or tangent? And to find the angle, you just switch to arc sine and arc cosine. Y'all got a calculator with you? What's the difference between arc sine of 14/16 and the arc sine of 7/8? Absolutely nothing, because it's a ratio. A ratio can be simplified down to unit rate. It can go all the way up to gigantic numbers in the billions. It is literally a ratio. Whether the ratio can reduce or not does not change its outcome. And there's some argument among math teachers about 5a. Some are going to say that you have to write it as arc sine of 7/8. Others are going to say you should leave it as 14/16 to help you correspond the numbers to the figure. I don't care. I really don't care. You're still getting the same answer, okay? I'm assuming that you know how to press buttons. I'm assuming that you're all back in degree mode, even if someone else might have reset your calculator. That's like something that you should be worried about and put a note on things, particularly as you take a quiz on Monday and Algebra 2 use the calculators after you on Friday.
Just tell them no one reset your calculator.
No, I'm telling you to check it. It's right there on your screen. Radian or degree, it says it at the top. Okay? So it says it right there at the top as to what mode you're in. Just make sure that you're double checking that before you start pressing buttons. All right. Then you go away. You go away. Okay, now we'll use the angle of elevation. If you like doodling, y'all love this. Because in geometry, we learned the axiom, when in doubt, draw it out. A ground crew worker who is 6 feet tall is directing a plane on a runway. If the worker sights the plane at an angle of elevation of 32 degrees, what's the horizontal distance from the worker to the plane? Oh. But if I say, there's stick figure Steve, and here's the plane, hold on, if we're going to do a plane, you have to do a jet flame coming out the back, right? Okay. Stick figure Steve here. I really like the takeoff. Like, I used to be terrified of roller coasters, and then I went on them, and I laugh like a maniac the whole time because it's just sensory bliss. The G-forces. Like, y'all know the pirate ship that swings you, and then it swings up in a circle and around, but it's nice and slow. I know people who can do roller coasters, but they get on that pirate ship and they will yak every time. I fall asleep on it because it's a Sullivan-sized cradle. It just rocking you back and forth, and when it's going upside down and you're upside down on your shoulders, that deep tissue compression is just happy place. Love it.
I'm always the one that gets nauseous.
Oh yeah, I am completely overstimulated by the end of the day. I'm freaking out. But it is good stuff. But I do like the takeoff on the plane, being crowded and next to other people I hate. Okay, so it says stick figure Steve is 6 feet tall. I should probably say stick figure Steve is 6 feet tall. Says there is a, this is not drawn to scale. Stick figure Steve is not the size of a fighter jet. That is drawn like a passenger plane. He sights it at a 32-degree angle of elevation. So put it in that tiny little corner. What is a horizontal distance, x, from the worker to the plane? And then I remember that for 6 years I have been using this example and forgetting to add in that there is a height in the example in the book. Who's got their book? There's a height given for that, and I keep forgetting to add it back into the notes. Probably not, since he's on the runway and he's guiding it onto the runway.
Oh, I thought this thing was flying.
It is. See the flames?
Yeah, exactly.
Not drawn to scale. 150, thank you. Okay. Very not drawn to scale. So it's more like now it looks like a wiener dog. It's like a wiener dog wearing a bat wing costume. Okay. Better? It is landing. Okay. 150 feet, right? Lars, feet? Okay. That can be taken ways. So, if this just helps you to wrap your head around what goes where in the triangle, go ahead and doodle it out. Have fun with it. You don't have to. I don't have to do any of that. I can say instead, I know there's a height of 150. I know there's a 6-foot dude right here. And I know that that's 32 degrees. And I want to know this. Why would that 150 and that 6-foot guy matter?
You gotta subtract.
Right? Because his eyesight is parallel to the ground at roughly 6 feet. So I'm not going to call this 150. I'm going to call this 144 in my triangle. Okay? So then it's just do what we were doing, right? I got 140 in x, sine, cosine, or tangent. So if that's a tangent, then the tangent of 32 degrees is 144 over x. Get your Jesus fish on and say x is 144 over tangent of 32. And I probably don't want to know that. I probably want the decimal approximation. But please do write the expression first, then the decimal approximation. So 36.5 square root of 3, 1.7 something, 5 like 280-ish? 230? Ah, Samsonite. Okay. So about 230 point what?
448.
Okay. Same thing. Have fun. Don't go too bonkers on your doodle. Or you can be lame and just draw a triangle. No, you just need the triangle. It's just, in the past, I've seen some entertaining doodles. So. Oh, something to note too. Usually in these problems, they'll say a person and their line of sight. In our example, they gave me the height of stick figure Steve. You don't need to include the height in your calculations if they don't provide it. Like, I have had kids who get really, really particular on this before, and they go Google like the average height of an American male. Like, 5'10". Actually, 5'9.5".
I'm above average height. Let's go.
Well, you got to remember that
South Dakota's tall.
in like Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, like the Midwest, Great Plains area,
We're tall.
this is a lot of Scandinavian stock around here, which means a lot of tall people.
What happened to me?
I always love the South Dakota.
Transplant.
Yeah, I swear.
Because I'm Polish.
That's legit. My wife's family is Czech, and they're all Oompa Loompas.
I got it from my dad.
I know, right?
My mom is.
If I remember right, the average American woman is at 5'3" or 5'4". Average American woman is 5'3" or 5'4". Yeah. Like that's average.
Yo, see my drawing?
See my drawing? It's a triangle.
It's pretty simple, but I like it. That's pretty artistic.
It works.
It's not need that.
Boo.
I'm lazy.
Bye bye tangent 36.
I like as I'm coming around seeing how many of you actually put flames on your plane. You win.
Your point is so deep.
Hey, I tried. Actually,
What is this? It's not even the right spot.
No, it's not.
The place is literally 6 feet off the ground.
I think people play. That's why I did this. Actually. So are they gonna jump in? Oh, okay.
Oh, did I see it?
I'm not sure if I want this. Oh yeah. It is. It's a big fire. Small mountain. Well, it's only a big
Oh my gosh, you're going like Robert. What do you think? Thank you.
It has to be 2,000.
Oh.
And then stick figure Steve.
Why is it always Steve going on there? Why can't it be Jerry? It's be Jerry.
Because then it's not alliteration. Stick figure Steve.
Why can't it be a woman? Huh? Sexist.
Because Marvel Comics.
I think.
What about Stacy? What happened to Stacy?
Yeah, he's
Stacy's his girlfriend.
See, I don't mention Stacy because of that. There's like a legal agreement that I'm not supposed to mention Stacy or her mom anymore. 2. There. All right. So anyway, you have triangle. Okay. Triangle says, again, if the angle of depression is 36, then the angle of elevation is also 36. What I don't want you to do is put a 36 up here, and that is one of the most common mistakes. Looking down 36. Now, if you want to be that kid that is just, I am adamant, I must put it up here, then 90 minus 36, right?
What if you like draw all
what if I made it
out and then put 36 where it would actually
Or, okay, if you're going to be a Paul and put it like that, right?
It's just upside down.
Like, you can do that. That's fine. So, regardless, you do the thing and it says it's a 1,500-foot mountain. Clearly not drawn to scale. Otherwise, stick figure Steve's about 82 feet tall. And I want to know horizontal distance again, sine, cosine, or tangent. I see opposite and adjacent. Opposite and adjacent. So I'm going to say the tangent of 36 is 1,500 over x. Cross multiply, do your Jesus fish thing. X is. Oh, also, you don't have to do the Jesus fish thing. Y'all remember alpha?
Omega. What's omega?
God of War, dude.
That game is so fun. I love that game.
I haven't played. I know. I don't play.
Has anyone played the new Forza yet?
That just
We're
reminds me
not
of
talking about Forza.
All right, no. No. Y'all remember something from geometry? Probably not. Called means and extremes? In means and extremes, if I were to do cross products right now, 1,500 times 1, x times tangent of 36, correct? Could I just swap my extremes? Tan of tangent of if I were to cross multiply now, don't I still have 1,500 times 1 and x times 3? Okay, so it's means and extremes in a ratio, you can swap the things that are kitty corner from each other because the cross products will still be the same. It'll save you the work of having to cross multiply and divide. You just whoop. Okay, which is about how much? 2,064? Okay. Or 1,064. Okay. All right. So just giving you a little bit of refresher on stuff. Solve a right triangle. If I say to solve something, I mean to find it all. So it depends on what information you're given as to how you start. So on A, I'm given a side and an angle. What can I find very quickly, very easily, right now? Third angle. Triangle sum theorem says that the measure of angle y is 90 minus measure of angle x, in this case 35. Actually, that's the complementary angles theorem, but yeah. Okay. Y'all know because these are right triangles, you don't have to do 180 minus 90 minus 35 because the other two have to be complements, right? Y'all remember the difference between complement and supplement? Alphabetical order. C before S. Complement is 90, supplement is 180. Okay? Also, if I have from 35, 10 is a adjacent. That's terrible. There we go. 10 is adjacent. What is x? Opposite. What uses opposite and adjacent? Tangent. So, I know that the tangent of 35 is x over 10. Cross multiply, do your thing. I can say x is 10 tangent of 35, and then give the approximation of it. Do not use that number to find z. Continue using the control information that you started with. So I started with 35, 10 is adjacent, and z is hypotenuse. So I have cosine, and if the
He's gonna throw a marker at you and say it like that. And cough. Yeah, let's go back to the run.
too extreme.
Dang it.
I was like, just like.
He's in reaching distance. Keep him in line.
Please just whack him one. Just do it. Yeah. You gotta do it harder than that. Sorry.
So anyway, cosine of 35 is 10 over z, so I can say that z is, swap my extremes, 10 over cosine of 35, and then whatever decimal approximation it is. So that's how you're going to see me write. Honestly, I won't write this at all on an answer key. I'll just go straight to that because you should have been doing it for 3 years now. Okay. I know that you haven't. If you need me to write the step before that, okay, I will. But if I just went straight there, would you be able to get there? Okay. If it doesn't work, ask. All right. I can also use my inverse trig functions to say measure of angle J from J. What are the 11 and the 8? Opposite and adjacent, which is tangent. So I'll say the measure of angle J is the arctangent of 11 over 8. Now once I have that angle, I can go find L by just subtracting 90, right? Or subtracting from 90. I can do that. That's fine. Go ahead. If I were to find L first, though, now what are 11 and 8? Still tangent, but the measure of angle L would be the arctangent of 8 over 11. Okay, you do not have to write that for both of them. You can literally just subtract from 90 and you're fine. I'm just showing you this is how my keys are because I don't know which one you're going to start with, so I write both. Yeah.
If you're doing this subtract from 90, will it be wonky because of like the rounding and stuff?
That's why we use that answer button. 90 minus answer. And then you'll have the decimal approximation that is as good as you can get, because when you use the answer, it takes the entire calculation and throws it in. That's a good question. That's why we use that answer button. You're going to be using that answer button a lot in this chapter, because you have to work with the expressions, and some kids just can't work with the expressions, so they have to use the decimal, which is where my rule of 3 places, no matter what the book says, came from. It was from doing right triangle trig and formula work in geometry with kids who could not handle the expressions. So I said, always round it to 3 places and then work with that. Yes?
These numbers go on forever.
Yes. In fact, the vast majority of all of our responses in this chapter are going to be irrational numbers. That's why I said decimal approximation. This is the real answer. The number I put after it is the approximate answer. For K, now some folks are going to say, well, now that I have this angle, what was it? Okay. This is faster. Because they were reinforcing place value. Just like I don't make you do everything by hand. I let you use a calculator. Could I now, if I know what that angle is, say that from this angle, maybe use 8 and k? Say the cosine of 53 and change is 8 over k. So k is approximately, because this is rounded off. You beat me to the punch there. Okay, when I do this, I'm going to end up using a decimal approximation to find my answer. My answer will not be precise. How do I find the hypotenuse if I've got two legs? I do Pythagorean. 121 plus 64, square root of 185. I don't think so. Oh yes, there's other stuff. We're starting with this because the unit circle is based off of right triangles. We actually end the chapter with law of sines and cosines. So, not right triangles. Just because it ain't right doesn't mean it's not good. That ain't right, but it's fun. Don't take it weird. I'm talking about like blowing things up and lighting things on fire.
That's just fun.
Well, it's okay.
It is.
We all are a little bit.
Get them.
Sometimes.
Some more than others.
Why are you looking at me?
Do those two, please.
I don't know. We should be looking at Paul.
What's that? 900, 420, 1320, 69, 969. I don't think that simplifies. Ow. It does not. Okay.
you guys get?
Just do 90 minus 20.
Yeah, I got no idea what the decimal versions of those are again. I'm relying on you to be able to press calculator buttons correctly, make sure you're in degrees.
So what if we do the test and it's not degrees? We get everything wrong.
The only thing that you have to use a calculator for, in which degrees and radians matter, are if you're using sine, cosine, or tangent of values. And that only happens in sections 1 and 8.
Okay. So just this quiz and quiz in a few weeks.
Yep.
So I won't get everything wrong. I just get
Correct. Whether you're in degrees or radians, the only thing that's affected is if you actually use the sine, cosine, or tangent buttons. At least for us. 37 squared minus 20 squared. Hypotenuse minus leg. On the second one? Using 23 and 35. 23, 35, and R. Opposite over adjacent, tangent. Tangent of 23 is R over 35. Okay, must write things. Okay. Sometimes just writing out that one stage is the difference between I get it and I don't. There must be a chemistry test. There's like 5 of you that got chemistry crap out right now.
Yes.
Okay.
It's good to memorize.
Memorize 27 elements.
Yeah, it's
Like-
just like here's this test next class.
Like H is hydrogen.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, I got that because I wasn't here last class and had to memorize.
I mean, you should know the chemical symbols for them, but that's stupid. My ability to spell flatlined in 4th grade.
You know what I think is super ironic? She goes through this PowerPoint. She's like, "You don't need to memorize anything. You have this element."
And then she's
like,
like,
"You don't have to memorize anything." But you need to memorize 50.
No, she said you don't have to memorize.
But you need
I
to
know,
memorize.
that's what it's, well, it's what it, yeah, it's what it's on the PowerPoint. It's pretty
She
stupid.
said everything.
No need to memorize anything. But you need to memorize 53 of them.
It's pretty funny. It's just
I
like-
mean, to be fair, I said that I hate memorization. That's why it's open notes on everything. I am still going to have, in Chapter 4, at least one time, I'm going to have you do a no-note quiz of the special right triangles, their ratios, and the unit circle.
Pop quiz.
Quiz.
Don't make it up. Are you gonna let us know when it's gonna happen?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, surprises don't happen in here. I hate surprises. So I don't like doing surprises to other people, except occasionally shooting a kid in game club with a Nerf gun.
I just thought you were gonna leave it there, just shooting a kid.
I nailed Raymond like in the neck last night, and I felt bad. Yeah. Or maybe it was at lunch. I don't know. But anyway, y'all got it? You there? Any questions? I can now give you any right triangle, and as long as it has 2 things on it, you're good to go.
Oh no, is the next thing one thing?
No, you actually can't.
Oh, okay.
You cannot solve a triangle without at least 3 pieces of information to find the other 3.
Never mind. Figured it out. Figured it out. Okay.
Stop that. When I said stop that, it meant don't do it anymore. Y'all good? Okay. Okay. This is the one that tended to goof with kids. Because it involves making a system, which might involve making a rational expression out of trig functions. You have the skills to do this. Kids don't like it. Hot air balloon moving above neighborhood. Angle of depression, 28 degrees to one house, 52 degrees to a house down the street. If the height of the balloon is 650 feet, and we have 2 houses, okay, it says you have an angle of depression of 28 to 1 and 52 to the other. Which one's which?
That house looks good, Mr. Sullivan.
Which one's which? Which one's 28? Which one's 52? Okay. Look at my angle of elevation from my eyes to the projector. What happens the closer I get to the projector?
The angle of inclination, or whatever it is.
Angle of elevation equal to angle of depression increases. So the ones that are closer are going to be the bigger numbers. So I will put 52 degrees here. I'll put 28 degrees here. We know 650 is our height. Question from geometry. How do I know this is a right angle? How do I know it's perpendicular? Oh, you're really dancing around it there. You're close. Okay. In geometry, we learned that the distance between any two things must be made with a perpendicular line. So the height of a thing, y'all remember doing altitudes? An altitude is the height of a triangle, and sometimes it's outside of the triangle. Sometimes it's inside the triangle. Altitude is always perpendicular. So when they say the height of the balloon is 650 feet, I know that must be perpendicular to the ground. Because we literally measure distance by perpendicular lines.
This is easy. I can do this problem.
What is the distance between the two houses?
Do it and then get ready points.
Yeah, can you let him do it?
No, because it's going to be a waste of 10 minutes.
What if I get it right?
That didn't sound very confident.
Hey, it's a win-win situation. Either he does it right and we get done, or he does it wrong and we get counting bars. So it's a win-win.
The waste of time is not worth it. So, I've got two triangles up here. Well, technically three, but only two that I'm looking at. Do y'all see three triangles? The entire triangle, and then the two smaller ones. Okay. So, how do I find, like, just tell me, what do you think? How am I going to find x?
You find the bottom two bottom ones and subtract.
Okay. So I've got to find this one first. So I'm going to say y. I'm going to say that the tangent of 28 opposite over adjacent. I really don't want to talk over you. 650 over y. You got to be careful with the next part. That's supposed to be 52. See, that's what happens when I'm distracted. Right? From this angle, tangent is 650 over y. What is the tangent of 28 going to be written as? No. What's opposite from 28? 650. What's adjacent to 28? X plus y, the entire length of the base. Oh no. That's where it becomes a system, because now we have two variables and we have tangents in there. So what do both of them have in common? If they both have a y in common, then I can say y is this stuff, y is that stuff. Set them equal, right? So my next goal is to get y equals stuff and y equals stuff. They're not going to help me to find the base ones, though. I do have other angles. By law of sines, this takes about 60 seconds. Yeah?
Can't you just solve the top one for y and then plug y into the second one?
Well, it's a system, right? So either I can say y equals this stuff, y equals that stuff, cut out the middleman, set them equal, but that's the exact same as y equals this stuff, substitute. Right? You are correct. So this, get out of my way. Okay. This.
How bad is your right? He said
Swap your means and extremes. Y is 650 over tangent of 52.
that answer is incorrect. I'll go get you.
Do you want to say y is 650 over tangent of 52 and put it on the denominator there with x, resulting in a compound fraction? Or swap your means and extremes. X plus y is 650 over tangent 28. Isn't that means and extremes thing saving us a little bit of time there? So now if y is this stuff, replace y with that stuff. I'm going to subtract that stuff over to the other side, correct? So I get x is 650 over tangent 28 minus 650 over tangent of 52. Yes, law of sines.
Without using the law of sines, just
It's a system. Systems have multiple ways to complete them.
we could make a mistake with the scripture.
This is the fastest you're going to get right now. Okay. So I can use this to find x, right? I'm not going to find y this way, but if I use it to find x, I can find y pretty quick. Who what? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, we were supposed to find x in the... This is bothering me. I know. We're talking about things that don't revolve around math, and not in ear, and then I can't think. So, it happens. X's expression, type it into calculator, you get answer. If you would like, you can also condense that expression by getting common denominators. Saying x is 650 tangent of 52 minus 650 tangent 28 over tangent 28 times tangent of 52. If you really wanted to, remember our rational expressions, getting common denominators? I'm cool with you leaving it as blue because you still have an expression. Dump it in your calculator and you're good to go. $7.15 and change? $7.14 and change? Okay. So here's the problem. It's not always going to be x that you're given or you have to find. What happens when instead of this, I do that? Can you still set this up? Tangent is x over y. Tangent is x over 650 plus y. System. Okay? So I heard 7.14 and change from a couple sources. I'm guessing that's right. You can do the same thing. It's not so much can you do the math. I think you're good with the math. Can you set it up? Do you know what goes where? If you got to draw it out, draw it out.
So then why would you... Yeah, how is x smaller?
Because they're closer together than this one is from the building.
No, wait. This y is smaller than...
Oh, it might not be drawn to scale.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah,
Okay, these ones, I know you had them in geometry. Most geometry teachers kind of gloss over it because a lot of kids there struggle with the system part of it. Yeah, right. Nope, we're good. Okay. Doesn't have to be pretty. In fact, it might be better to just... That. I mean, that's pretty bad. Show you. Better. Okay, you only need the triangle. You don't have to get fancy with it. I have 2 cars on a street. I have a building. What numbers go where?
64 goes closer to the building.
64 is closer to the building, yes. 48 is further from the building.
And then 22 goes in between.
So 22 is here to here. I also know it's right angle because perpendicular to the ground. How tall is the building? So I need a placeholder. Y. And I start out with orange. We'll do orange. We'll say tangent of 64 is x over y, and tangent of 48 is x over 22 plus y. Swap my means and extremes. Y is x over tangent of 64. 22 plus y is x over tangent of 48. Hmm?
I did this very differently. I found the middle one.
Define middle one.
I found that the distance from the middle car to the building, or like the I found this one, which was
How?
I because you have those two, and then you can use that one like that.
It's not a right angle.
It's not right.
Okay. Thou shalt not. This is going to be fun.
I don't even know what that says.
Peanut butter.
Oh.
Yes, let me crack out my jar of peanut butter that I just happen to have. Ironically, I did have one. My youngest is a very picky eater, but sometimes his only nutrition is shakes and peanut butter. So I have peanut butter, but we ran out because he ate it last time. Here we are. This gibberish tries to say 22 sine of 48. But this isn't a right angle. You can't do right triangle trig if it's not a right triangle. So, nice try. Doesn't work that way. But y is stuff. Replace y with stuff. 22 is x over tangent of 48 minus x over tangent of 64. Right? I'm going to subtract y to the other side. Someone might be freaked out right now if they don't remember what factoring is. What do the two on the right have in common? X. So this ain't going to be pretty, but can I now say 22 is x times 1 over tangent of 48 minus 1 over tangent of 64? How would I then get x by itself? I divide, and then I have a compound fraction with rational expressions. Now, could I, in my calculator, just straight up type womp 22? I am vetoing all brownie points right now. Because I want to scream and hit myself, because I really, really hate hiccups. No.
I never did.
I think we should have a Maddie brownie.
You wanted to make pumpkin bars. Give her 3.
Yeah, give her 3.
Are we writing another name?
Okay. You can dump that in there, right? Do you remember common denominators? Could I take this times tangent of 48, this times tangent of 64, and now it's a rational expression? Scares me. Tangent of 64 minus tangent of 48 over tangent of 48 times tangent of 64. Common denominators, right? And then dividing by fractions is easy as pie. So if you want to go all the way, technically, 22 tangent of 48 tangent of 64 over tangent of 64 minus tangent of 48. Because this was my answer, but that's my simplified answer. Like, when you get to purple, can't you just dump that in your calculator? And say approximately this? Okay. You should be able to get that, though. You got the skills. It's just rational expressions. We went through them. We went through rational equations. So, dump it into the calculator. How much is that? I heard 50 something? 53 and change?
That's what you mean by change. Money change, not like.
It's like the he is 5.
Well, you have no room. What a shame.
Now we need 2.
Oh. Wait, what?
Our class is the most people.
Only 3 people from our class are all.
Yeah, there's only so many people in.
They're all in the front row.
What?
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah. Yes.
Can you erase that 64 on the bottom?
Wow.
Can I erase it?
No. All right. And that's as far as we're going to get. Your assignment has not changed. It is, if I remember right, about 10 problems because it's stuff from yesterday and today. You do not get that.
Why?
I wanted to form you. What did you just say?
Like that.
Someone